Okay, we are live. This is First Novel Problems, but we look a little different today because, Brooke, unless you shaved your head, I do believe this is Hank Garner,
Hey, everybody.
my buddy Hank. So you
What's
guys get
up,
a
Abby?
double dose of crazy today. So this is First Novel Problems, where we get our words on the page, even though life gets crazy and you got to write in the cracks. And right now, Brooke is falling down a crack because she is not feeling very well, and we are going to give her some grace and let her off the hook. But I don't like to be a talking head, so
So you're going to let my head talk next to your head.
That's right. I got my bestest buddy to come with me. Here's the thing that I want us to talk about today. And you and I have worked with enough writers over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, how many thousands of writers between the two of us do we think we've worked with over 10 years?
How many cats have we herded? Is that what you're asking?
A lot.
Thousands. Literally thousands.
Easily thousands. Yeah. I was going to say we're probably in the tens of thousands of writers at this point.
Yeah.
So we kind of know what we're talking about when we say we know what writers struggle with. And, you know, most of our writers, I would say, who are listening, are probably fairly new. Yeah. I mean, the show is called First Novel Problems. So spoiler, if you're here, you're probably writing your first novel.
Yeah.
Maybe your second, because there are some things that took me multiple novels to feel like I was sort of working out.
100%.
And there's this analogy that I've been working on for the last day or so as I was thinking about this show, Hank. And let me see if you sort of agree with me.
Okay.
All right. So I know we've discussed this before, that getting a writer to the end of their first draft is sometimes a struggle because they don't understand what a first draft feels like.
Yes.
I mean, it's a mess.
Yeah.
But it's a mess for a reason.
Yeah.
And what I believe stops many writers is the fact that when they look at that mess, it makes them feel like they are inherently not good enough.
Right.
Or they did it wrong, or they don't know what they're doing. They don't have the talent. I finished this draft, and then I took a breath, and I went back and reread it and was like, what the hell was I talking about on page 15?
Right.
Nothing in chapter 17 makes sense.
Yeah.
But the thing that I think writers need to understand is writing a first draft in particular, it is a balancing act.
Yes.
Now, when you learn to juggle, do you know how to juggle? Have you ever?
A tiny bit. A tiny bit. If they're balls, don't give me knives.
Oh, no.
Oranges, I'm good with.
We're not there. Okay, anything round and soft, right?
Round and soft, yeah.
Round and soft. So my husband, Sean, tried to teach himself how to juggle, right? And he bought these like racket balls so that there was like a little bit of weight to it, okay? Yeah. And I watched him do this for forever. And he started off and he would take one ball and he would just throw it and catch it. Yeah. Throw it and catch it. Throw it and catch it, right?
To learn what it's supposed to feel like.
What does it feel like? Then he was doing it like without looking. Because like, I guess you have to try and do it where you just see it in your periphery.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Once you kind of get that down and you're catching it more than you drop it, right? You start this thing where it's like you throw it, you catch it, and then you pass it. You throw it, you catch it, you pass it, right? But it's still just one ball.
Sure.
Okay? So you got to do this whole thing. You learn the rhythm, you get it down, and then you add the second ball, and it's like you have to learn the whole thing all over again, right? Because now you're juggling two things.
Right.
Right? Writing a first draft is kind of like that because you've got plot, right? So you're throwing this plot ball in the air and you're trying to catch it and you get the plot where you think it kind of makes sense.
Yep.
And it's working and everything's great. And then all of a sudden you throw in the second ball, which is character. right? And then suddenly the character's screwing up the plot and you can't weave them together. You have to juggle them both at the same time. Then you get all that in play, right? And now it's like, well, now we're throwing in dialogue, and now we're throwing in emotional arcs, and now we're throwing in our world building. How does this world serve the story? And so writers think you got to get it all in one fell swoop, and it is near impossible.
Yeah.
And so if you are working on your first draft, I want you to realize that it is just like juggling.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the piece that I think I'm trying to work on too with Brooke a little bit. And we're doing it in layers.
Yeah.
So she is onioning. For those of you who have been following along, Hank is the mastermind behind the term onioning.
Kinda. I actually borrowed it from my friend Steve. Although I had been doing this, I just didn't have a name for it. So we were comparing. So Steve, me, and Josh Hayes. We're talking Josh is like if there's a spectrum between plotters or pantsers and plotters, pantsers being on the far left, plotters on the far right. Josh, if it's the scale is 0 to 10, Josh is a 12 on the plotter side. And I used to say that I was like on the 2 or 3 side, like on the pantser. And I don't know where to put Steve, but I realized that I was somewhere in the middle. My theory is that almost all of us are. But that I would kind of write a scaffold for that scene and kind of get down the pertinent points. And then I would go back to the top and I would see what I'd written and I would add details and I would add layers to it. And then I'd get to the bottom and I'd start back at the top. And then whereas my kind of scaffold was maybe 400 words, it would be 2,000 before I was over, before it was over with. And I just add layers. And the first pass lays down the structure of the scene, who it is, what they're doing, what the outcome is. Go back, add descriptions, add intentions for characters, add internal dialogue, action, reaction, that sort of thing. And then when it's over with, you've taken that scaffolding and you've got a nice building.
So see, that fits so perfectly too with this juggling metaphor. I mean, I'm talking about the entire draft, but when you plan the way we're trying to get Brooke to plan, which is you start small, then you add to it, it's like you can start and on 1 or 2 pages, just try and simply lay out what your plot is. This happens and then this happens and then this happens. Then throw that next ball in.
Yeah.
How can you make a character interact with that plot? Or maybe you're doing it vice versa. I mean, I
start with character usually.
Me too.
And then I, because if I were left to my own devices, I would write 100,000 words of 2 people taking a car ride just talking, because
you have though.
I literally have done that. I literally have done. Now throw in the actual devil into that and someone selling their soul. That's periphery. That's a plot being added in. But I love to just put 2 people in a situation and see what they do, and then plot comes out of that. So, but it sounds better the way you said it. And I'll tell you this, Abby, because I love to mix metaphors. I onion a planned story. So, but the metaphor I like to use that as a roadmap, and because say you're going from San Diego to Maine, total opposite corners of the United States. One's the bottom left, one's the top right. There's all kinds of ways that you can get there. A million ways you can get there. But I like to say, okay, from San Diego, we're going to go up a little bit, find I-20, then take I-20 from the west as far east as it'll go, and then turn north. And so I kind of put some push pins in that map. I know I'm going to go here. I know I'm going to go here. I know we're going to turn north. I'm going to go here. Now, what happens between those push pins gets onioned in, gets layers added.
I swear to you, Every first-time writer is going to choose the bumpiest back road to get there to.
Of course, because that's the fun part. That's the fun. Who wants to drive across an amazing landscape like the United States of America and just take the interstates where everything looks exactly the same? Why would you do that? Now, if you're trying to get there in the least amount of time, that's going to be part of your choice. But if you want to experience the road trip, you're going to find little backwoods and waters and things that are off the beaten path, because anytime the federal government, is in charge of anything like the interstate highway system, everything's going to look exactly the same.
Yep. And you're probably going to get a traffic jam.
And you're probably going to get a traffic jam. Yeah. Or, some 18-wheeler jackknifed, or although fun things could happen there. Just saying. Not that I endorse it.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't there some really weird thing where, was it in Texas when the tractor trailer and the crashed and all the monkeys got out recently?
That was in Louisiana, wasn't it?
Was it in Louisiana?
We have weird stuff like that in South Mississippi too.
I'm just saying.
South
can happen on the
Mississippi
interstate.
and Louisiana have some laboratories we don't talk about. See, I'm just throwing plot ideas out to you people. See,
so much plot.
All this is free. Yeah.
So much plot. Anyway, I'm so glad you joined us today, Hank. Thank
My
you
pleasure.
for coming by. Maybe you could do it again sometime.
I'd love to. I would love to. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, we will catch everybody next time on First Novel Problems.
Bye, guys.